Now listen to Practical Spirituality with your host, Flores Oasis, and co-host, Glammy Witch. If it's not practical, it's not spiritual. Walking through the state of fear and maybe laugh. Down the road to your beloved. Or walk in the rain. We're all made for this same magic of life. Let's step together into a new life.
All right, all right, all right. We are live for our first episode of Practical Spirituality. I am so excited. We have our co-host, Glammy Witch, and we also have Jade, the beautiful Jade, who is the owner of the station, allowing us to borrow her station for about an hour for the night. And we also have the one and only J.R.Rivera, who is joining us for the evening. But right now I want to give it to my co-host, Glammy Witch. Glammy, how are you doing tonight?
I'm so stoked I can't even tell you. I'm like super psyched. I want to thank everyone for being here with us tonight. I know that we have a lot of people listening, and we're really really fortunate to have JR here, and in case you don't know, he is the author of a new deck that's coming out in December called Beautiful Creatures. And this is the first tarot deck. Now, the illustrator is Jasmine Beckett Griffith, and this is the first deck that will have 80 of her illustrations in the deck. So this is a first. Really, really awesome. He's also the youngest person to road deck creator under the age of 30, which I knew just from looking at his picture. I was like, this guy's a baby. What is he, like 12 years old?
Right.
And then, his cards. I mean, I kept watching his reports and things. He was putting on Facebook, and these cards have been at the top of the charts in the States, in Japan, in Canada, in the UK. So, JR, you've been a busy person.
Yes, I have. And just the support and the momentum and how people from around the world have been embracing the Beautiful Creatures Tarot before it's even out. That is an enormous compliment, and I don't think I could ask for anything bigger than that. So it's wonderful.
And I think what it is, too, that makes you so great is that you are so accessible. You don't put on airs. You're not hard to talk to. I think that people, they really like that you being a tarot author, that, there's not this wall that's between you and your fans, which I think is really, really amazing. And I think what helps is that you're so young that you're kind of like hip and cool, too, so that really, really just is amazing. So what I wanted to do is that we have, a lot of tarot-holics. I call them tarot-aholics who are listening. And so I wanted to get just a little bit of, your story. And we were talking earlier about when you got your first deck. I know everybody remembers when they got their first deck, and I just wanted you to tell us real quick because I love your story.
My first deck was a gift from my mother and my grandmother. And I was 13 then. I was 13, and that's the age that I got my first tarot deck. It all happened with me starting to experience and display psychic abilities, like, things that I couldn't understand. And so my mother would tell my grandma, and my grandma would tell her, you know what, I think he needs something, a tool, something where he can develop his ability, at least for a start. And the thing is that my mom and my grandmother are not tarot readers, but they know about it, and they've accepted it. My dad and my mom and my grandparents, my family have accepted it. So that to me is also a big reward, that they accept what I love to do and what I'm passionate about.
That is
Well, I
beautiful.
thought that's amazing.
Before we go into it, I do want to apologize for anybody who hear my dogs in the background. It's around the time people come home, so you might hear them barking. But I do have to stop just for a minute because we already have a caller who wants to say something. So we're going to go ahead and take that caller at this time. Caller whose number ends in 6868. You are on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Well, it's Marianne from Akashic Inspirations. You know it. Stay away.
No, I know it.
Hey, Marianne.
My 2 cents in, girls. This is awesome. And hi, JR. Yeah, I'm so excited about being able to talk with you and hear all about this one. When I first heard about it from Glammy and Dia, I was like, what? They did what? How did we get that? I'm so looking forward to hearing it. And I just wanted to say, congratulations, you guys. I think this is awesome. And I'm just going to sit back and enjoy.
All right, awesome.
Thank you so
JR,
much.
Marion will be the other person interviewing you when we do our Google Hangout. So I think she just wanted to, she's just loving it. We're just going to have such a good time on the Hangout, and we'll get to the date later on, and we'll talk about the time for other people. So now, I just wanted to say that your grandmother, I just feel like, oh my gosh, what a wise woman. Like, I just feel like, her intuition must have been amazing. And I'm just like, wow, that's so awesome. I think a lot of people would wish to have somebody who could kind of have their back like the way your grandmother did. So kudos to Grandma. That's what I want to say. Now, the first reading do you remember like the first reading that you did or like the first couple readings? Was it with friends and family?
Yes, when I started learning and dabbling, experimenting with the tarot, I would do readings just to close friends and close family members. I never go outside that circle. Well, one, because I was already starting out, and if I were to make mistakes, they wouldn't, laugh or boo at it. So they know that I'm developing this ability as much as possible, and they'd understand. So, but I do remember one time where I dared to do a reading to a high school classmate. And now, she was not fond of the reading. She tried to degrade it. She did not like it because basically it wasn't what she wanted to hear. It was the truth, but not what you wanted to hear.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of us get those clients and we get those people that we read for that they totally tell you that you're wrong instead of just saying, okay, you know what, this is just something that I don't want to hear. So I know that a lot of our listeners can absolutely relate to the one person who really doesn't want to hear what you have to say and just tries to tell you that you're wrong, and you're really not. You always have to go with your gut. Always go with your instincts as a reader, and and I know that you probably learned that lesson. And it's hard to deal with clients or with people who do that, but it happens. It's the nature of what we do. So now I want to fast forward to so now you're on Facebook, and somehow you friend Jasmine Beckett Griffith, who is the illustrator of your cards, and I wanted you to just kind of go over that. Like, how did that happen? That how did you meet her, and what was like your first conversations with her?
It all started when I owned her very, very first Oracle deck, which I believe is titled Oracle of the Shadows and Lights, which is written by Lucy Cavendish. Well, I didn't know who. Sorry?
No, I said, I love that deck.
I had acquired that deck. I mean, I didn't know who she was. It's funny though. I saw a lot of her illustrations in magazines, everywhere. You name it. I saw it everywhere. Media and stuff like that. I saw a lot of her artwork, and I was like, wow, that's really beautiful artwork because they look She illustrates fairies, butterflies, angels, but they're not commercial cliche like the ones we have nowadays. That which ones I'm talking about. Hers have a little bit of shadowy, gloomy, darkish, macabre style to it. So that's what really attracted me to it. So I didn't know who she was, but I was familiar with her artwork. It wasn't until I owned the Oracle of Shadows and Light when I was just like, oh my goodness, it's just, beautiful artwork, beautiful Oracle deck. And then I acquired her next one, Oracle of the Shapeshifters.
Ooh.
And so I said, you know what? I said to myself, there's just Oracle decks being released with her art. Why isn't there a tarot deck? And so I got in contact with her through Facebook, and I told her, you know what, I'm really interested in creating a tarot deck with you. Like, what is your input? What do you have to say about that? At first, honestly, I thought she was going to say no, because I don't have a body of work. I'm a revelation. I'm a newcomer to the publishing business. So I thought she was going to say no. But she said, you know what, yep, I'm in, I'm game. Let's do a tarot deck. And I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
I was starstruck.
That is
that's
amazing.
awesome.
And I think that your story is so inspiring. I know that Dia's, she's publishing her own thing. I know of other people who are, who are trying to publish. And for somebody who's just an everyday young, cool guy to be able to publish, I think that this could really inspire a lot of other people out there to not give up and to go for their dreams. And so,
speaking of other people, not to kind of run fast, but speaking of other people, we already have a question from the Google chat, and this particular person, Deshaun, wants to know. Hey, Deshaun, I see you, boo. He wants to know, what advice do you have for young tarot readers just starting off?
One crucial advice that I advise, and I've been through it: do not let anybody, no one, doesn't matter how experienced, how seasoned they are, do not let them underestimate you. Do not let them make you feel like you're wrong, like you're reading the tarot wrong. None of that. Do not do any of that. And the best thing, and this advice may sound cliche, but it goes a long way: practice makes perfect. If your passion, if your devotion is to really understand and read the tarot, it'll pave the way. And a lot of blogging, a lot of practicing, a lot of journal, everything, all of that really paves the way, and it'll expand and it'll flourish in the future. So that's my advice, and that's also my personal advice. What I've been through and the walls that I've hit, to just become one with the tarot. So that is my advice to young Revelations, young tarot readers who are starting out. Don't give up, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
Now, that's great advice. Now, I have a follow-up question to that. That's one of my own, and the reason because I see people with so many different decks, and I only work with a few. And what most people don't know is that my first actual deck wasn't a tarot deck; it was Oracle deck. It was actually given to me by Glammy. Me, her, and Marianne kind of did a swap. I was more into runes and just pendulum magic before then. And with that being said, when people first get into using the cards and using tarot, do you suggest that they stick with one deck, or is it okay to use different decks? What is your opinion on that?
Actually, there is no wrong or right way of which decks to read. Anybody can read 3, 5 decks, and I personally believe that it is best to read different decks because it'll expand the memory, it'll expand their imagination, it'll expand their motivation, because if you're only working with one thing over and over and over, you sort of close yourself and limit yourself to other possibilities. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I'm with you on that one. So now what I wanted to ask you is, for somebody who's maybe working with a publishing company for the first time, your publishing company that you work with is Schiffer, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what would be your advice, like to have things go as smooth as possible with a publishing company that they're working with? What would you suggest for someone who's just like you, starting out? This is their first, work that's being published. What would be your advice to them working with a publishing company?
If they are a revelation, someone that's starting out, first of all, pick a publisher who you feel is going to expose and is going to embrace and is going to show your tarot deck to the world. Okay? It's always that. Choose a publisher. It's always quality, never quantity. So choose a publisher with who you feel can do an amazing production, can do an amazing box case, can do everlasting sturdy cards. Also, when you are starting out, pay very close attention, details of how a publishing company works. It'll pay off in the future when that person gets published for the second or third time.
And I know Dave can totally relate to exactly what you're saying. So,
yes.
and I feel like that what you're saying can really just help a lot of other people out there who are just really trying hard to get published. Now, when I saw you posting and you were saying, oh my gosh, my cards are, they're just hitting the charts, and I was like, oh, that's got to be amazing. How does that feel to see that your cards are just like, oh my gosh, like those are my cards that are hitting these charts? How does that feel?
I am still, honestly, and I've always, ever since, I saw the Beautiful Creatures Tarot being embraced, I've always stayed my most humblest. And when I see that they're escalating to the top 10, top 5, top 3, it just makes me happy knowing that my tarot deck, the Beautiful Creatures Tarot, is going to find a home. It's going to find a home, and it's going to be used by wonderful, loving, empathic readers. So that, to me, just knowing that the work that Jasmine and I did is going global, is being acquired by many people, that is just heartfelt, honestly. Just as long as my work is.
Now, I want to ask a question real fast, which is a follow-up to what Glam just asked. For those who don't know, who are just getting into tarot or not really into tarot, Schiffer Publishing Company has some of the best tarot decks out there, like the Transparent Tarot and Simply D Tarot. So with them having some of the top tarot decks and stuff like that out there, how do you feel to be a part of that, to be a part of that legacy? Like, does it just make you overwhelmed? Does it enhance it? Are you just like in shock mode? And I feel like, how does that feel?
It's everything. It's everything in between. Mixed emotions, mixed feelings that the Beautiful Creatures Tarot is with those other top-selling decks. I mean, it's just an honor. It's just an honor to have my Beautiful Creatures Tarot with those decks, with the Marielle, with the Transparent, Mary White, Emily Cardi, all of those tarot creators. And me being somehow, some way connected with them is just a huge honor. It is.
All right. Now, I want to get a little bit deeper. Before that, I want to give a shout out to Shani, my other host on the Gumbo Cafe every Tuesday nights on a different channel. Hey, Shani, I see you, boo. But the question hey, Shani, the question I have now is, I guess the big question is, what made you want to come up with your own tarot deck, and how did you go about writing a storyline? Did it come in a dream? Like, what made you say, I want to do my own tarot deck? Like, I personally believe everybody who's in professional reading, which is another question I have for you, should eventually do their own tarot deck. But what made you say, I'm going to do this now?
Well, apart from being fascinated with Jasmine's hard work, I've always wanted to create a tarot deck because I wanted to invest my knowledge, my experience, my expertise per se. I wanted to invest it and just conceive it with a tarot deck, any tarot deck. And when I saw Jasmine's artwork, I said, bingo, that is with who I want to create a tarot deck, and that is who I am going to create a tarot deck. So that's where I got in contact with Jasmine and told her my ideas, and the theme, basically everything came from the spirit. Everything through dreams, through visions, imagination. Basically, I just let spirit pave the way for the beautiful creatures count.
All
Well,
right.
we could do a whole show on manifesting, and I want you on it.
Well, actually, in the second half, we're going to get a little bit into creating and manifesting, and I think we're going to go ahead into the second half right now. And go ahead, Jade, if you can, go ahead and play the commercial break. Everybody get a drink of water, and when we come back, we will have the second half of the show where we will get into the new moon in Libra, and I hope, JR, that you will be able to stay with us for the second half. Are you?
Of course.
All right. So we're going to get into the second half. We'll talk about the new moon in Libra and manifesting and balancing and how to make all that work. So, Jade, go ahead and play the commercial break.
Harvest your abundance now with me, Oreoasis of Oreoasis.com.
Hey, Thea, can you hear me?
Learn the secrets, practical, simple steps that I personally use that's